maybe a happier expression on your faces in that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, my friends, welcome back, as always, to, where am I? Oh, the Chefsmartypants Academy here on YouTube. This is our new home for longer format content. Woo! Because it's really hard to teach you anything in 90 seconds on Insta and TikTok. So I decided to go longer, and here we are. Now, um, uh, so we did a couple videos about knife skills. Remember I showed you like how to hold your knife, how to slice, how to dice, how to cut an onion, all of that. And I kept saying, we're going to talk about sharpening down the road. Well, guess what? We're down the road. We're there. This is the exit ramp to Sharpland, and that's where we're going now. So let's talk about how to sharpen your knives. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can approach this issue of dull knives, but really, like, having a sharp knife is super, super important, okay? The sharper your knife, the less you're gonna cry when you cut onions, but also a sharp knife is a safe knife. A dull knife is dangerous. A dull knife is gonna slip off the food and cut you really, really badly. So keep those knives sharp. If you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, that's okay. Find a reputable place that you can take it to where you can have them do it in person for you. There are also some cool like mail order places that I know of that do it. One is called Knife Aid, one is called Sharpenters. They'll send you a prepaid envelope and you send your knives off, and a few days later, boom, perfectly sharp knives. But it's a really good thing to learn to do yourself. Now, there are these like little machines and like gizmos on the market, and some people really like them. That's fine. If you have one you like, you use it. Because I'm an old school chef, I've been doing this for 30 years, I've always sharpened my knife on a sharpening stone. It's just how I was taught. Now, this is my sharpening stone from culinary school, okay? It's very old. And it's bowed. It's like basically kind of warped down in the middle from overuse. And it's also just not very grit feeling anymore because these actually get clogged up over the years. I don't know why I saved it. I'm sentimental, but so yeah. These are both much newer two-sided sharpening stones. When you sharpen a knife, a stone is really the way to go. What you want is a two-sided grit stone. One side is going to be more coarse, one side is going to be more fine. This one's good. It's like, a basic stone. I think this was like $10 or something. And this is just a slightly fancier stone. This was given to me by Zwilling. Thanks, Zwilling. Whatever stone you decide to buy, you have to make a decision up front that you're going to have to stick with, okay? Now, I know commitment is hard for a lot of us, okay? But you're going to have to make a commitment here. And the commitment is my stone going to be a water stone or an oil stone? Okay, a wet stone or an oil stone? I always recommend doing water, a wet stone, because the oil that you use is mineral oil. Who has mineral oil sitting around, And also I find that the stone just stays cleaner if you use water as opposed to oil. But if you're an oil person, use your oil, okay? It's okay with me. This is a wet stone. So I have my stone, I have my darker side up. Usually the darker side is your coarser side. I guess it depends on the brand actually. This one, you start with your darker side up. And I'm going to pour a little bit of water on it. Now, my old school stone, the one from school, and this one, you actually have to soak those in water for a little while. This stone does not require soaking. All you do is wet it. You just pour a little bit of water on it. This one, I used to have to soak for not long, like 10, 15 minutes. Now, the other thing along with your stone that you'll need for sharpening is this tool. This is called a steel, a honing steel or a honing rod. This is used in conjunction with your stone, but this is also used between sharpenings. So if you watch chefs work, you'll often see us just with this in our hand, and we're constantly doing this. We're honing our knife. This is like the finishing touch. This refines your edge. It doesn't sharpen your knife. Once your knife is dull, this is not going to do much for you. You have to get back on the stone, but you should get yourself a steel also. Okay, make sure it's a decent quality steel. So how do I do this? I have my stone And this one has little rubber feet, so it doesn't really slide. But what I like to do is just put like a little damp paper towel underneath, because that's just gonna help it to not slide a little bit more there. And because I'm small, I go horizontal when I sharpen. People who are taller will often put it this way, parallel, or what's the word, vertical, lengthwise. For me, I like to do it this way. Now, when we sharpen a Western style chef's knife, a European style knife, as opposed to an Asian knife, most of them are sharpened to about a 20-degree angle. But you can check with your particular knife brand, look on their website and see what they say. Oh, also, how do I know my knife is dull and needs sharpening? Well, if I'm struggling to cut with it, of course, that's how you know. If you're trying to get through something like a tomato or a pepper or a lemon and you can't get through that skin, it's time to sharpen, okay? How do I know my knife is sharp enough? If I pick up a knife and I run my finger this way across the blade, not this way, it should feel rough. I should feel that blade kind of snagging every little ridge of my thumbprint. That's how I know that my blade is sharp, okay? If it feels dull, like how it would feel back here, and you're not feeling that and you're not hearing that sound, then your knife needs sharpening, okay? Now this knife is still in pretty good shape, but I want to show you guys how to do this, so I'm going to take one for the team here, all right? Okay, now my stone is wet. Here's what I like to do because I'm small and this is how I was taught. You can go on YouTube and see like 50,000 million trillion people doing this. They all have their own way. Please don't leave comments about how I'm doing it wrong. If you don't like how I'm doing it, just go watch somebody else, okay? Okay, so I like to kind of spread my fingers out. And what I do is I lock my arms in at my side and I kind of bend my knees and I tilt my hips forward, and it's almost like I'm doing Pilates. I'm kind of locking everything in, okay? Think Pilates. Because what I'm gonna do is turn my whole body like this so my knife stays even. If I don't do that and I do this with my arms, see how hard it is to maintain that steady, even angle, okay? Especially because I have these little T-Rex arms. They're not very long. So that's why I like to do it this way. Also, it's almost like a little, core workout at the same time.
Work it.
I locked my elbows. I'm holding my knife at about that 20-degree angle. And with some knives, it's really easy to do that because if you set it flat on the handle and then you just tilt forward and there it is. It's built right in, okay? So I'm getting it on here. I'm tilting forward. And what you want to think about is almost like making like a rainbow. So I'm keeping that angle really steady. And notice how my arms are not moving, but I am turning my body. It's important that you cover the whole blade, but it's also really important that you cover the whole stone. Don't go across the middle because you'll wear out a dip in your stone. You'll never be able to sharpen correctly. So I do about 10 on one side. Okay, then I flip my knife over. Same thing, spread out my fingers, lock it in, squeeze my butt, engage my core.
You can do
and I
it!
go across this way. Same idea. And I'm doing this very gently because this blade doesn't really need much sharpening at all. But see how my arms are staying very steady? I'm not doing this, okay? I'm doing this. So I do about 10. Now I'm gonna flip over my stone. So I go to my gentler side, my finer side of my stone, get that wet also. And then I do the same exact thing. Lock myself in place, and you can even hear the difference in sound on the stone. Now this is a very fine grit stone, so it's kind of this nice soft sound. If I was doing it more on something like this, it would be a little bit coarser. It would make a little bit louder noise. Same idea, flip it over. And you really make sure you get the tip, make sure you get that whole blade, just like that. Okay, so in case you're wondering, this stone, the coarse grit is a 250 and the fine grit is 1,000. Okay, but all stones are different. This one, I don't know what this one is, doesn't say. This one is so old, it's basically useless, but 250 and 1,000. Now I'm gonna get this out of the way. First, I'm just gonna give it a little wipe because sometimes you get that, okay? And that's fine. That's what you want to happen. We're going to get this out of the way now. Wipe things up. And I'm also going to wipe my knife carefully to wipe off any of that fine grit. And then finish it up with the steel. So you always use the steel after you use the stone. Think about the fact that what the stone is doing, if you looked at this under magnification, it would look like a little mountain peak, but it would be like very jagged, like a snaggletooth mountain peak. On the coarse side, it's very jagged and snaggle. On the finer side of the stone, those teeth are going to start to kind of align like that. It's like a kid who needs braces. The kid gets the braces, and then poof, we line up there. Okay, what the steel is going to do is take those last few little bits of metal up there, those few little molecules of that carbon steel, and really line them up just like that. Also, this is magnetic, so this is picking up any little fine bits of steel that have come off your knife blade. So actually, every once in a while, you want to give this a little cleaning because these fine ridges fill up with tiny particles of carbon steel. Wow. So now, same idea, 20 degrees, lay your knife on it, 20-degree angle, same thing, and go heel to toe. Make sure you cover that whole blade. I always see people and they just do this. That's only sharpening a fraction of your blade. So just like that, away from you, nice steady angle. So I like to do this going away from me because this way, if I accidentally lose my grip and this knife goes flying, I'm not the one getting hurt. It's that guy over there, okay? Same thing, about 10 times on each side, but you can also do it like this, like that. You can also do this. That's fine. There's lots of ways to do this, but you have to do it. Now, in between sharpenings, as I'm using my knife, if my knife just starts to feel like it's just snagging a little, but I'm not ready to sharpen yet, I get it back onto my steel and I just give it a few little swipes. When I was working full-time in restaurants as a chef, I kept this right on my station. Basically, every time I picked up my knife, I gave it a few swipes. That's what you do. You're bringing that edge back. You're refining it. There's some kind of metaphor in there, like with like dentistry, that I've been trying to work on for years. But really, like to me, going onto the stone, that's sort of like when you go to the dentist and they do all that scraping and they get everything kind of cleaned out there. And then going onto your steel, this is more like brushing once a day. This is your like daily maintenance work. I don't know. I don't think that makes sense, but you know, I like a good metaphor. So that's how you do it. Now, is this sharp? Yes, it is. That feels really good. I have that kind of rough feel to it. And you can always test it out by cutting something too. Some people like to test it on a sheet of paper. I just like to do the little thumb test. Okay, but that is how you do it, my friends. Again, if you don't feel comfortable using a stone, you can send your knives out. You can find someone in your town who does it. But be careful about who does it. If it's a guy in a truck with a wheel and he's like grinding your knives like on a wheel, I would stay away from that because these are very fine tools. They're fine instruments. Okay, it's not like your hedge clippers. You want these to be treated carefully and you want them to last forever because a knife is a lifetime investment, right? It's not money. So don't let the guy with the wheel like grind your knives down like crazy, but you could find someone who's got some finesse to it. But learn how to do it yourself. It's not that hard. Okay, you are so welcome. Thanks for joining me here again in the Chefsmartypants Academy. We have so much more great content coming up over the next couple of months. I'm very excited. So please click that link, subscribe.
Please subscribe.
You know, all that stuff. Oh, by the way, you know where they make a lot of beautiful knives and are very into cutting? Japan and also Korea. And we're going there in May of next year. We have a trip to Korea and or Japan. You can do both. You can do either. You get a little deal, extra deal if you do both. That will be in May. And then in June, we're doing an amazing trip to Ireland to explore the new kind of culinary renaissance that's happening in Ireland. I'll have info for all of those right down below. So maybe you'll come with me and you could buy a knife in Japan. I bought a knife in Japan when I was there years ago. I don't know where it is. I have to find it, but it's a good knife. All right, friends, so we'll see you soon. Arigato. Thank you so much. Bye. To get them to hydrate. This one, I'm making a mess here. Let's hold on. Let's pause. Okay. This stone doesn't have to, sorry, I have to move my mat. I'm having foot problems here. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm like struggling and, okay.